Hello again. In this module, we're going to be talking about safe browsing and internet usage. So as you're browsing websites, you're clicking links, you're going between separate pages. There are two potential sites that you can visit that are not necessarily safe. The first one we're going to talk about is not necessarily malicious, but you have to be careful. The second type is absolutely malicious and can, potentially infect your device with a virus, etc. So the first option, there are two ways to spot this. So you're on a safe website when you look at the URL, and next to it, in the address bar, you see a little padlock. That means that website has a secure certificate. Now, the other way to tell is if you click into the URL itself, it should start with HTTPS. That S is very important. That is synonymous with the padlock symbol. It means there is a secure certificate. So a secure certificate means that the communication between your computer and the server is encrypted. So no one can intercept any information. So if there is no padlock and there is no S and it's just HTTP : that means that encryption is not there. And 5 or 10 years ago, most of the websites that you would visit would be HTTP. It's almost become an icon, by itself. But now the S is absolutely required. Now, if you are on a website that does not have the S or the padlock, does that mean you should immediately leave? Not necessarily. What it does mean is that you need to be careful about what information you give that website via forms. So, don't try to purchase something with your credit card on a website without a secure certificate. But browsing between pages, you will be okay, but be extra careful. So, the second type of, not safe website. If you're browsing and you ever see this, that means that there is a very serious problem with this website. It means that there is absolutely either malware or some, illegitimate practice trying to scam you into one thing or another. And so if you ever see this, that should absolutely trigger a flag. And when that flag triggers, never click anything within this viewing area. You may be tempted to click back to safety because, I don't want to be here. I want to go back to safety. But that is not wise. And I think it's not wise that Chrome even has this button. The reason is because someone can create a website that mimics this, and when you click back to safety, you then download the malware, potentially install it, and they took advantage of your want to leave that website. So never click back to safety. Even in this case, this is a legitimate Chrome security warning. This is what it looks like. But as soon as that security flag goes off in your head, never click anything in here. What can you do? You can click the back button, you can close the tab, or you can close Chrome. You know that is going to safely remove you from the situation. Never click back to safety. I honestly believe that Chrome did not have this button and that it should explain that you should hit back or close the tab or close Chrome. But that's not how it is. So we need to be careful. So now that we've talked about the two types of potentially unsafe websites that you may encounter, let's talk about what we can do in Chrome in terms of settings to make sure that we're as safe as possible. So, you've received emails in the past. I've been vocal about not saving passwords to Chrome. And if you've ever saved a password, it will show here. If you click on your account icon, click the key. If you've ever saved a password, it will show here under Saved Passwords. You can see that I have none here. But if you do, they will list here. And there will be a button next to them to view the password or delete it. And if you click View, you will see what the password is. So if someone steals your device and they have access to Chrome, they can see all your passwords. If someone has remote access to your computer without your knowledge, which is just as bad, they can see all your passwords. And that is why it is such a risk to save passwords this way. So I recommend immediately after this module, check your password settings here and make sure that you have no saved passwords. And I also recommend to check it regularly, just in case. Now, after you've cleared that out, it'll still ask you if you want to save passwords. So how do we make sure that we never save a password again? If you look up here, there's this offer to save passwords. And by default, this is turned on. And if this is turned on, every time you enter a new password, it will ask you if you want to save it, and then it ends up here, and you have to remove it. But if you turn that off, it will no longer offer to save the password. And the only way that you could possibly save a password is click this Add button and put it in manually, and you know that that's not what you should be doing. So it's very unlikely that there will be a saved password, and you can, know that you are safe not saving passwords. So lastly, the last thing that I want to talk about is protecting your privacy online. It all requires discretion. And we talked about this secure certificate and whether there's a padlock or an S in the URL. But that doesn't mean that you can just give information to any website with a secure certificate. It all requires discretion. And so be extra careful to who you are giving your information to. A good practice is to always be aware of the domain that you are in. So whatever.com, like lowmedical.com, for example. You want to make sure that that is the domain of that brand or that system or whatever it may be.